Have you ever felt that there is something more, a reality that goes beyond what we've been taught to see? Something that only a few seem to understand, while the rest of us remain trapped in a system of beliefs and perceptions that limits us? The truth is that the secrets of Plato's famous cave and what it truly represents have been hidden, carefully guarded by the elite, because they knew that by discovering these secrets, you would learn to escape this simulation that limits your life. The ancients already knew the way. They knew how to see beyond the illusions that imprison us and walk a path of true freedom and power. Today, I'm going to reveal these hidden teachings to you. Get ready for a journey that will not only make you question what is real, but will also give you the tools to leave your own cave and see the world as it truly is. To not miss this unique opportunity to access what few know, check now if you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you're ready to discover these and more secrets. Only those who are prepared for the truth can move forward. A small exercise. Let's start with a small exercise. Look around you and instead of just noticing your environment superficially, choose a single object to observe closely. Focus on every detail, texture, light, shadow, and color. And over time, it may start to seem more alive, as if there is a pulsing energy. This curious feeling reveals how, by calming our minds and focusing our attention, our perception of reality expands, suggesting that what we think is solid and fixed is, in fact, deeper and more complex than we imagine. This perception connects to a central idea in science and philosophy: nothing is really still. Matter, even in objects that seem static, is made up of atoms in constant motion. Some thinkers even question whether what we call reality is just a simulation created by the senses, a limited interpretation of something greater, much like Plato's Allegory of the cave. In it, prisoners see shadows on the wall and take them for reality. When one of them is freed and sees the outside world for the first time, he discovers that all of it was just an illusion, a small part of the true universe. If you are ready to go beyond those shadows and uncover what is really behind the simulation that limits us, don't miss the chance to access the forbidden secrets of the mind. 7 techniques to unlock your hidden potential and transform your reality. This is a book for you to grab now in the first pinned comment. It reveals powerful techniques that will expand your perception and help you see the world as it truly is. Take this opportunity to leave your own cave and discover the hidden potential that awaits you. Thus, by questioning our own perceptions and beliefs, we have the chance to expand our vision beyond the shadows. Leaving the cave means confronting the limitations of our certainties and accepting the challenge of seeing the world with new eyes. It is a path that requires courage, as we are often led to abandon what we think we know. However, this journey not only transforms our personal reality, but also gives us the responsibility to share this new vision with others, helping them see beyond the illusions and explore the true potential of existence. Deep observation. I'm excited to share more with you about the vibration of atoms, the illusion of matter, reality, and we'll even dive deeper into Plato's cave. But first, we need to delve into this question of observing matter. Deep observation allows for an increased perception of the details of an object, promoting an experience that goes beyond simple, superficial visualization. By directing our attention to a specific point, the object that seemed still, solid, and inert begins to reveal characteristics that were previously unnoticed. It's as if it acquires a life of its own, with subtle movement or even a kind of pulsation, evoking the idea that there is life within it. This phenomenon indicates that our perception of the material world is merely a limited interpretation of reality. The brain, by filtering information to make the experience more understandable and efficient, tends to erase details it deems irrelevant to survival and adaptation. This means that, in our daily lives, we are seeing only a simplified and practical version of objects, not what they truly are in terms of movement and structure. Modern science, through quantum physics and neuroscience, suggests that all the objects around us are in constant motion, even if they appear static to our eyes. This movement occurs at the subatomic level, where particles like electrons and quarks are always vibrating and interacting. The solidity we perceive in a table or a stone is, in fact, an illusion caused by the interaction of these atoms and particles in continuous motion. In practice, these objects are mostly empty space with vibrating particles, creating the sensation of rigidity and permanence. Deep observation reminds us that reality is much more complex than we perceive. Our vision and other senses are limited, and this limitation affects how we interpret the world. For example, the way we perceive colors, textures, and sizes of objects is influenced by light and cultural and emotional factors, in addition to the physiological limitations of our eyes and brains. This reinforces that our perception is not a faithful reflection of what is, but rather a functional adaptation to reality. This process of deep observation also raises philosophical and existential questions. Philosophers like Plato and Kant have proposed that reality may merely be a construction of our senses and our minds, not an objective truth. For Kant, for example, we can never know the thing in itself, the object in its true essence, but only the thing as it appears to our senses. And you, what is your view on this reality? Do you believe that everything around us is just a construction of the senses? Share your perspective in the comments. I want to know how you see these hidden layers. This exchange of experiences is essential for creating a collective record of thoughts, enriching and strengthening us as seekers. I'm eager to read what you have to say. Everything vibrates. Science shows that everything around us is in constant motion, including the atoms that make up objects. The principle that everything vibrates is a widely recognized concept in both physics and various philosophical and spiritual traditions. This understanding is based on the scientific observation that all matter, regardless of its form, is in constant motion, even if that motion is invisible to the human eye. From the subatomic level to the macroscopic, vibration is an intrinsic characteristic of everything that exists. At the atomic level, we know that the atoms that constitute matter are made up of even smaller particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons, that are in constant motion. Electrons orbit around the nucleus at tremendous speeds, creating what we perceive as a cloud of probability around the atomic nucleus. This incessant movement gives the atom a vibrational nature, which is the basis of its existence and interaction with other atoms. In fact, the idea of solidity is a collective effect of this ordered vibration and the electromagnetic force that keeps atoms and molecules in defined structures. Furthermore, quantum mechanics, a branch of physics that studies subatomic particles and their interactions, reveals that this movement is unpredictable and chaotic in a certain sense. According to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, it is impossible to precisely determine the position and velocity of a particle at the same time. This uncertainty illustrates that everything at the subatomic level is in a constant state of energy and movement, where particles blink in and out of existence, challenging our classical notions of stability and permanence. If the mystery of quantum physics and the unpredictable nature of reality fascinate you, the forbidden secrets of the mind, techniques to transform your reality, is the next step for you to delve into these issues in practice. In the book, you will find techniques that go beyond uncertainty and help unlock a clearer and more powerful vision of reality and your role in it. Don't miss the chance to explore this knowledge and go beyond what the senses allow us to see. Grab your book now in the first pinned comment before it runs out. At the macroscopic level, this vibration can also be observed, although not directly perceptible. For example, the temperature of an object is, in fact, a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles that compose it. When we heat an object, its particles vibrate more intensely, increasing its internal energy. Even objects that appear completely inert are, at some level, vibrating. This is evident in the phenomenon of thermal expansion, where materials expand when heated due to the increase in the amplitude of atomic vibrations. This continuous vibration is also responsible for phenomena such as sound, which is essentially a pressure wave transmitted by the vibrational movement of molecules in a medium, solid, liquid, or gas. Every sound we hear is the result of particles vibrating and transferring this energy from one to another until it reaches our ears, where it is interpreted as sound. In a vacuum where there are no particles to vibrate, sound cannot propagate, highlighting the importance of vibration in the transmission of energy through materials. In cosmology and string theory, scientists propose that the fundamental particles of the universe are in fact tiny strings vibrating at different frequencies. The nature of each particle, whether it behaves like an electron, a quark, or another type of particle, would depend on the frequency of its vibration. In other words, the universe itself would be made up of vibrational patterns, suggesting that all reality can be understood as an expression of energy in motion. The idea that everything vibrates profoundly alters our understanding of reality, as it indicates that the apparent stability and permanence of objects are merely illusions resulting from our limited perception. In reality, everything is energy and movement, and the matter we see as solid and fixed is just a temporary arrangement of vibrating particles. Thus, what we call material reality is, in fact, a complex dance of energy at levels far beyond our direct sensory experience. Matter as illusion. Philosophers suggest that matter is just an illusion of the senses, something like a simulation. Imagine you are in a room filled with familiar objects, a comfortable chair, a solid table, stacked books, maybe even a vibrant plant in a pot. Everything around you seems very real, tangible, concrete. But what if I told you that, according to some philosophers and scientists, none of this is actually solid? What if matter itself were a kind of illusion, something that our senses interpret as real, but is actually just a simulation of the senses, a veil over a deeper and indescribable truth? This concept of matter as illusion dates back to ancient philosophical and spiritual traditions and is reinforced by modern discoveries. Think of a hologram, a three-dimensional image that appears to have shape and substance, but is actually just a projection of light. Physicist David Bohm, for example, proposed that the universe could be understood as a type of hologram, where solid reality is merely an illusory layer. He suggested that everything we see and touch could be just a shadow projected from a higher dimension, something far beyond the reach of human senses. This idea is similar to the experience of watching a movie with 3D technology. When you put on the glasses, the images on the screen seem to pop out, creating a sense of depth and substance that momentarily deceives us. For a few moments, we forget that we are just looking at a flat screen. For some philosophers, what we perceive as matter can be compared to this 3D experience. It is a representation, a mental construction. Ancient philosophers like Plato suggested that the world we perceive is just a shadow of a deeper and truer world of ideas. At the microscopic level, physics reinforces this possibility. Remember the atoms and subatomic particles we discussed earlier? The matter we consider solid is actually composed of vast empty spaces with tiny particles vibrating at extraordinary speeds. As you zoom in on these particles, you would see that nothing is truly still or fixed. What we call solid is, in fact, a field of energy and vibration, where the boundaries between what is thing and what is empty space become blurred. Consider, then, the thoughts of René Descartes, the French philosopher who questioned whether reality could be completely false. In his thought experiment, he pondered the possibility that an evil genius was manipulating his senses, creating an illusory reality for him. Descartes ultimately concluded that the only thing he could be absolutely certain of was his own existence as a thinking being. I think, therefore I am. Everything else, including the matter around him, could be illusory. In the 20th century, philosopher Nick Bostrom presented a modern version of this thought, the simulation hypothesis. He suggests that if technology continues to advance, we might eventually create simulations so perfect that the people within them would never know they were in a simulation. Imagine you are in a virtual reality game so advanced that you can see, feel, and touch everything around you as if it were real. The chair, the table, the book, every detail has been created to perfectly mimic reality. From this logic, Bostrom suggests it's possible that we, right now, are living in a simulation created by a much higher intelligence. So what does this mean for our understanding of matter and for our own existence? Perhaps we cannot be sure whether the world around us is truly solid or if we are part of a complex simulation. Still, these questions remind us that reality is much more mysterious and complex than simple sensory perception. It's as if we are inside a theater of shadows, where the true nature of what we see is always just out of reach, challenging us to look beyond, to question the essence of what is real. Reflection on reality. Questions about what is real, including our identity and beliefs, are raised. Is everything we value real? Imagine yourself in a quiet moment. perhaps at night, while everything around you is silent. In that instant, you begin to reflect on something that usually goes unnoticed. What is real? You look around, observing the familiar environment, but now with a new question. What we call reality seems so solid, so certain, but what if, as philosophers and scientists suggest, this reality is just a limited interpretation? What if the things you consider truths about yourself, your beliefs, the values that guide your life, are merely a restricted view of something much broader? These questions challenge our understanding of identity and purpose. After all, who are we if everything we know is subject to being just a limited representation of reality? Think about the beliefs you carry about yourself, about the world, and about others. Each of these beliefs is built on perceptions and experiences that, as we've seen, can be profoundly illusory. Do you really know who you are, or is your identity shaped by these illusions of reality that surround you? One of the central questions about reality arises when we realize that, just like a layer of dust on a mirror, our perceptions and beliefs often obscure the true image of what is real. Throughout life, we accumulate ideas, prejudices, and expectations, all based on what our mind interprets as truth. But what if all these layers of ideas and concepts are nothing more than reflections of a deeper and unknown reality? The journey of reflecting on reality can become a disturbing experience. Imagine that you have always believed in a central idea about yourself. Something like, I am a logical person, or I am someone who always chooses safety. You define yourself through these beliefs. But what would happen if you discovered that these convictions were shaped by fleeting experiences or by ideas you accepted without question? By questioning them, you realize that perhaps that truth about yourself isn't as solid as you thought. This reflection on what is real becomes even more intense when we think about what we truly value in life. Our attachment to things, people, concepts, and goals, what we call values, is based on the idea that they have unquestionable importance. However, if reality itself is an uncertain construction, what does this imply for what we value? What we consider indispensable and fundamental may, in a sense, be an illusory construction. And yet, paradoxically, these values shape our lives, motivate our actions, and define our priorities. This dilemma has been explored by thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, who suggested that existence precedes essence, meaning we are born without a fixed nature, and our identity is a construction of choices and interpretations about life. This places us in front of a fundamental question. Are we creating our own reality through our beliefs and values, or are we mere reflections of a reality we cannot fully comprehend? This poses a fundamental question. Are we creating our own reality through our beliefs and values, or are we mere reflections of a reality we cannot fully comprehend? For those who wish to delve deeper into this question and explore the power to shape their own existence, The Forbidden Secrets of the Mind reveals techniques that align your beliefs and choices with your true potential. And you can access the book now in the first pinned comment. At the end of this reflection, the notion of reality, identity, and value may seem even more complex and uncertain, but it is precisely this uncertainty that paves the way for new discoveries. By acknowledging that we may not know the full truth about what is real, we allow ourselves to explore more deeply our essence, question the whys of life, and embrace a worldview that is less rigid and more expansive. It is an invitation to detach from the solidity of certainties and instead allow yourself to see reality as a vast ocean of possibilities, where true value lies not in certainty, but in the quest. The Allegory of the Cave. Plato created a metaphor where prisoners in a cave only see shadows and think this is reality. One prisoner who escapes discovers a true and broader world. Imagine a dark, cold cave, a place where light never directly penetrates, and all that is seen are shadows projected on the walls. There, in chains and seated, are prisoners who have known no other reality since birth. Their bodies are fixed toward the wall of the cave, and unable to turn their heads, they can only see a surface illuminated by a faint light coming from a fire behind them. Between the fire and the prisoners, there is a small wall where people pass by carrying objects and figures of all kinds. These objects cast dancing shadows on the walls in front of the prisoners. To them, these shadows are not just representations, they are reality. Imagine that these prisoners have never known what the sun is, the true color of things, or the wind touching their skin in the open air. They observe the projected shadows and, little by little, begin to make sense of these images, creating stories about the shapes and figures they see. The shadows become their world, and without knowing anything beyond them, they believe that this is the entirety of reality. Perhaps among them, they discuss the meaning of the shadows, formulate theories about their shapes and movements, and even create laws and beliefs based on the observation of this reality. But one day, something unexpected happens. One of the prisoners is freed from his chains and, with great difficulty, turns to see the fire that casts the shadows. The light hurts him. His eyes, accustomed to darkness, involuntarily shut. He feels a mix of astonishment and discomfort because everything he believed to be true now seems an illusion. After a while, his eyes begin to adjust to the light, and he sees that those shadows are merely reflections of objects carried by other people. Confused, he tries to understand. Everything he knew and accepted as real was nothing more than a projection. But the journey of the prisoner does not end there. Driven by a growing curiosity, he decides to move toward the exit of the cave. Each step is a struggle as the light becomes increasingly intense, and he feels the need to protect himself from the brightness he has never experienced. When he finally reaches the exit and emerges from the cave, the impact is immense. His eyes can hardly bear the intensity of the sun. He sees vibrant colors, defined shapes, and textures he never imagined existed. Flowers, trees, mountains, and rivers reveal themselves before him, forming a vast and fascinating world, infinitely richer than the shadows of the cave. For the first time, he feels the warmth of the sun on his skin and sees the true nature of things. At first, he can hardly believe his own eyes. He looks around and realizes that the shadows in the cave were nothing more than pale imitations of the true world. Every detail, every color and shape he sees now is so vivid that it becomes hard to understand how he was ever satisfied with those distant, blurry projections. His perception of reality expands in an irreversible way, and he feels the joy and pain of discovery. For now, he knows he has lived his whole life deceived, trapped in a distorted reality. Even so, he feels the need to return to the cave and share what he has seen with his former companions. With enthusiasm and compassion, he wants to show them the truth and convince them that the shadows on the walls are not all that exists. But when he returns to the cave and tries to tell his discovery, his old companions, who have never left, look at him with distrust. They think he is delusional, that he has gone mad with absurd and dangerous ideas. How could they believe in something they have never seen? For them, the shadows are reality, and any other possibility sounds like fantasy. Plato uses this allegory to show how we are often trapped in a limited version of reality, blindly believing in what we see, hear, and think we understand. We live in our own caves, surrounded by the shadows of our perceptions, beliefs, and experiences. And when confronted with a greater truth, something that challenges everything we know, the immediate response may be fear, rejection, or disbelief. This allegory is not just a reflection on knowledge and ignorance, but also on the courage needed to question and expand our view of the world. Leaving the cave, like the prisoner, is a painful and transformative journey. It involves letting go of the comfort of certainties, facing the possibility that what we consider real may be nothing more than a limited version of the truth. By seeing the world in a new light, our perception changes forever, and with it, our responsibility. It is now up to us to inspire others to seek that light, to question their own caves, and to explore a greater reality. Thus, Plato invites us to question what is truth, what is illusion, and above all, to have the courage to seek the light that hides beyond the shadows. Leaving the cave, just like in Plato's cave, we leave the illusion by questioning our limited perceptions and beliefs. Imagine a moment in your life when suddenly something that seems so certain begins to crumble. Perhaps it's a belief you held since childhood, a perception of who you are, or a worldview that once seemed unquestionable. Suddenly, something happens. You read a book, hear a conversation, or experience a transformative event that challenges all those certainties. In that moment, you feel a mix of curiosity and discomfort. This moment, which may seem small, is like the first step out of Plato's cave. a doorway to questioning the shadows you have always taken as truth. Like the freed prisoner, you realize that the world you have always accepted is shrouded in a kind of veil, a layer of interpretations, stories, and ideas shaped by circumstances and external influences. Doubt begins to emerge. What if these certainties are just a partial view of reality? Looking around, you see that many of these shadows come from family customs, social norms, and truths that have been accepted without questioning. And the more you investigate, the more you realize that each concept and idea is rooted in limited perceptions, like a distorted reflection of the truth. Share in the comments your experiences with these discoveries and the reflections they have brought you. Your insights could be the next step for someone else on this same journey. As you progress on this journey of questioning, a new challenge arises: the discomfort of leaving behind the familiar. Like the prisoner who, upon leaving the cave, feels hurt by the intensity of the light, you begin to feel the difficulty of coping with this new worldview. It's disconcerting to realize that much of what seemed safe and familiar was, in fact, a construction based on conventions and limited interpretations. Everything that once felt solid seems to lose meaning, and this can be frightening. But at the same time, this is where true growth begins. In this new journey, you discover something important: the freedom to question. Just as the prisoner who finally sees the world outside the cave, you begin to explore the vast landscapes of new ideas, possibilities, and perceptions. This process is not easy. Along the way, you may face resistance from friends, family, or even parts of yourself that resist this transformation. It is tempting to return to the cave, where things seemed simpler and answers were readily available. But something inside you has changed, and even if you wanted to, returning to a state of complete ignorance is no longer an option. As you leave the cave of absolute certainties, you start to discover deeper layers of reality. What was once a world of solid certainties becomes a vast and unknown terrain full of nuances, paradoxes, and possibilities. You realize there is much more than the initial answers, and that the very act of questioning brings a special kind of satisfaction. It's not just about finding new answers, but about understanding that the world and reality are much more dynamic and complex than they seem at first glance. On this new journey, you find companions, people who have also left their caves and view the world with insatiable curiosity. You engage in deep and challenging dialogues, exchanging perceptions and experiences with those who also question. And this exchange is enriching. After all, everyone is on a unique journey, with fragments of truth that, when shared, broaden everyone's perspective. You begin to see that collective growth becomes as important as your own, for it is through these exchanges that new discoveries and perceptions are made. And so, outside the cave, you understand that the journey in search of truth is continuous. There is no endpoint, no absolute truth waiting for you at the end of the path. Instead, you realize that life is made up of layers of reality, and every time you traverse one of these layers, you encounter another, even more complex and fascinating. This exit from the cave is not a destination, but a practice, a constant willingness to question, investigate, and expand your view of what is real. Like Plato's prisoner, you now know that the shadows and illusions were not the whole truth, but you also understand that this journey does not end. With each new discovery, a piece of reality reveals itself, but another mystery presents itself, inviting you to move forward. At this moment, I want to briefly tell you that leaving your like now is essential for me to know that you've made it this far and connected with this content. It gives me a clear picture of your interest, allowing me to bring more videos that delve into this theme. Your support makes all the difference as we continue exploring these topics together. Thus, outside the cave, life becomes a dance between the known and the unknown, like a balance between certainty and curiosity that moves you toward new horizons. Now you know that truly living means always being willing to step out of new caves and see the world with fresh and attentive eyes, seeking a deeper understanding while accepting the infinite mysteries that reality still holds. Conclusion. The journey in search of true knowledge is both fascinating and challenging. As we dedicate ourselves to discovering what lies beyond appearances, we encounter not only surprising revelations, but also obstacles that test our ability to see the world with new eyes. This quest for truth can be uncomfortable, as it often destabilizes everything we once took for granted. There are moments when we face internal resistance, the fear of the unknown, the desire to remain in the safety of old beliefs, and also external resistance, as not everyone is ready to leave their own caves and question the reality they live in. Plato, through his allegory of the cave, suggests that true wisdom is not only a privilege, but also a responsibility. By stepping out of the cave and that the world is much more vast and dynamic than we imagined, we gain the duty to share this understanding with others. This is the essence of the philosophical quest, to understand the world deeply while reaching out to those still trapped in a limited view. Through knowledge, we become agents of transformation, inspiring others to question and expand their own perceptions. However, this journey of self-discovery and the pursuit of truth has no end. There is no destination where all answers are found. Instead, it is a continuous process that invites us to see ever further beyond the shadows and illusions that surround us. Each discovery is a new step, transforming our vision of reality and revealing a world even richer and more complex than before. Thus, we continue to advance, questioning and discovering, for it is this pursuit that keeps us alive and gives us purpose. Science shows us that nothing is truly still. Every atom, every particle, every cell in our bodies is in constant motion, creating a dynamic and vibrant reality, even when it seems static to our eyes. Using advanced technologies, we can see cells functioning as miniature ecosystems, with incessant activity that reveals the depth and complexity of life at unimaginable levels. Philosophers and thinkers, such as Erich Steinhardt, point to the possibility that matter, everything we consider solid and real, might, in a sense, be an illusion of our senses, a kind of simulation constructed by our perception. This concept challenges us to question whether what we value as ideas, beliefs, and certainties is truly real, or if we are trapped in a limited interpretation. After all, what is real? Is everything around us merely a simulation of the senses? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know how you view this question and what you consider to be real. I want to explore these ideas with you and expand our perceptions together. Plato's story about the cave continues to remind us that we are beings who often see only a part of reality. We spend our lives looking at the shadows on the wall, believing they represent everything that exists, unaware that beyond our immediate perceptions, there is a vast and brighter world waiting to be explored. This story encourages us to leave our own cave, to broaden our horizons, and to seek a truth that, as challenging as it may be, allows us to see the world in a fuller light. Therefore, I invite you to join this journey. Step out of the cave and explore these questions with me. What is real? What is an illusion? If you, like so many seekers throughout history, also question the nature of life, the universe, and existence, then you are in the right place. Here together, we will dive deep into these questions, expanding our vision and perhaps getting a little closer to the truth we seek. To continue deepening your knowledge and strengthening your experience with reality, explore the other videos on the channel that I've made available for you to click on now. Each piece of content I've left here will guide you further on this path to uncover hidden truths and unlock your true potential. My mission is for you to continue to develop. Thank you for watching until now. Subscribe to the channel and keep receiving our upcoming content. Until the next video.